Well, moving on with our first episode of the preseason team previews. We just wrapped up FC Dallas, and now we are going into New York City FC, the citizens of the Eastern Conference defending regular season champions, which we all know means nothing. Doesn't matter how many points you get unless you're out there for the Shield, and no team knows that better than NYCFC. They have always made the playoffs and never made any impact in the playoffs. So, with that, let's take a look at some of the ins and outs of NYCFC. Mike.
So before we get started, Nick, I want to throw out an over/under for our watchers and our listeners. So if you're watching on YouTube, please, in the comments, let us know over/under for the amount of times that you think I am going to talk about New York City's small, tiny baseball field that they play on. If you're listening on the podcast, go find the video on YouTube and put in the comments how many times you think I will talk about that small baseball field.
How many times are we going to talk about NYCFC, Mike? Because that's your answer. Because I don't think we have ever talked about
FC for the next 10 to 15 minutes for their team preview. So anyways, jump on that in the comments down below and let us know.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a time we've mentioned NYCFC without you ripping on the size of their baseball stadium. I mean soccer stadium. So the biggest player in isn't a player.
Players in.
Yeah, the biggest player in actually is their coach, Ronnie Delia. At least that's how we're going to look at it. They finally get the new coach. They get I forget where they bring him in from, but we talked about it in last week's podcast. And it's going to be up to him now to really get this roster to hit that next gear. New York City did it for the second half of last season. It's a great result. While the rest of the Eastern Conference was floundering, NYCFC hit their stride, won the conference, got the home playoff games, and unfortunately was unable to advance to the MLS Cup Finals out of it. So is Delia going to be able to kind of recreate that same spark, but earlier on in the season, maybe get his players some rest then later on in the season, or push for a supporter shield to actually win a trophy for NYCFC. The other players that they brought in were Gideon Zalala from Kansas City, Keaton Parks, who was originally one of their own, but now they brought him back from Benfica, and defender Tavon Gray, a homegrown product who is going to help solidify that backline for them. Some of the players on the outs, Ben Sweat was lost to Inter Miami in the expansion draft, as well as Daniel Bedoya, Jeff Caldwell, Eric Miller, Abdi Mohammed, and Ebenezer Ofori all had their options declined. These are guys whose names I'd never heard of before, so probably just depth pieces that NYCFC isn't going to miss too much.
Yeah, I think the biggest loss for NYCFC is definitely Ben Sweat, losing him to Inter Miami in the expansion draft. He's a guy who actually did play meaningful minutes for them, was a starter for them. Got a taste of USMNT camp as well, last year at some point. So definitely a big loss there. As far as bringing guys in, not a lot of movement, but that's because they haven't had a coach. So they just got the coach, Ronnie Delia, which, as you said, we're not really expecting big things from him. He did come over from Norway. And then, he did have some experience with Celtic as well over in Scotland. So he does have that big name club, kind of, if you want to consider Celtic in that list of big named clubs, which I think they do. But I don't know how that's going to translate to success here in MLS. So that, as far as the players in and out, I think the out really only is Ben Sweat. And then the in, Keaton Parks would be the biggest name, but he played for him last year. He just brought him in on a permanent. So you kind of have to mention it in this spot, but it is what it is.
So moving on to the designated players, New York City got their 3 DPs. We all know who they are. These are the household names of NYCFC. Alexandru Mitrita, their striker. Maxi Morales, their kind of do everything, go everywhere engine of the team in the midfield. And Jesus Medina, one of their most consistent players. But Mike, you note that he might be on the outs. What makes you say that?
Yeah, so they've been rumored to been looking at a couple DP options to bring in, such as I know they're rumored to bring in Pedro from Chelsea, the winger there that plays Medina's position. So they've also been looking at some rumors about some DP level signings. So it's not going to be Mitrita. He's not going anywhere. The same with Maxi Morales, who's kind of the face of that franchise. So from what I'm gathering, Medina he wasn't playing a lot of minutes towards the end of the season either. He wasn't starting every single week. He did have some injuries that played a part in that. But I question if he's on the outs just because of the rumors that are out there. Maybe he's not on the outs. Maybe they could buy him down with TAM because he is a younger player. Maybe they know something we don't know about these CBA negotiations that are coming up that, maybe he'll be able to be considered a young DP and they're going to have 4 DPs or whatever. There's all kinds of rumors out there as far as CBA negotiations go. So he could possibly be on the outs. It could possibly be with CBA. It could be he's getting bought down with TAMP. Or it could be nothing. He could just be their third DP and it continues on the way it was last year. So that's kind of the thought process on those. Maxi Morales is Maxi Morales. Alexander Mitrita, he's kind of your midfield end striker, so you're going to see him all over the field. He's hasn't quite lived up to expectations yet, I don't think. I think he another season in MLS will be good for him. It could really help him kind of hit that next level, which is going to be one of the top echelon DPs in the league. It could happen. It might not. What are your thoughts with those guys, Nick?
Actually, I'm glad you went right where I wanted to go because Mitrita came in the summer transfer last year, I believe, or if they did bring him in early on in the season.
I think they brought him in the beginning of the season. Yeah.
So he came in, but he only made appearances in 29 games. He started 24 games, but had 12 goals. So now that he's got that full MLS season under his belt, he kind of knows what to expect from the competition, knows what to expect from just playing in America, the travel, the coast-to-coast travel, the stadiums, the fans, the expectations and the pressure of playing in a major market like New York City. I think now that he's had a whole year to digest that, and even so, scoring in every other game he started last year, I think he's only going to improve upon that. This guy's going to be the focal point of their offense. He's going to be a threat every time he's on the ball. And he could have a 15 to 18 goal season with no worries, no issue whatsoever. I don't know if he's a golden boot kind of guy, just the way that NYCFC plays, because they do have a possession game. They do have a number of guys who can find the back of the net. So I don't think he's going to put up Carlos Vela or Joseph Martinez numbers. But this guy is still going to be one of the most dangerous strikers in the league, after especially having that second season. And he's only 24. He's turning 25 in February. So he is in the prime of his career. He's got young legs. He's going to do really good things for NYCFC this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what has to happen for NYC as well. Let's talk a little bit about the breakout youngsters. So breakout youngsters for New York City, they don't have a ton of young talent. One is going to be Keaton Parks. They just bought him permanently from Benfica. Is this his time to shine?
It better be. I mean, again, if New York City wants to fill their trophy case, then they definitely need him to step his game up. He's a midfielder. And we know with a team like NYCFC, who likes to hold possession, who likes to knock the ball around a little bit and kind of probe the opposing defenses, his play is going to be very important. His possession, his passing, and his ability to find the open man or hit that switch when it's needed. So he's going to have his best season for New York City to have their best season. And obviously coming over from Benfica, he got a lot of exposure to that kind of style of play over in the Spanish league over there. So yeah, this could be his breakout year, or to kind of factor it into our floor and ceiling. I mean, he could just come back to the United States and just forget how to play soccer and just be terrible. I doubt that's going to happen, especially someone who's gotten a couple USMNT looks. I really think he's just going to continue to develop and to be surrounded by guys like Maxi Morales and Alexander Mitrita. It's only going to help him develop his game.
Yeah, for sure. Another guy on that list is James Sands. This is kind of a central defensive midfielder player. He's kind of been with their squad now for, I think, about a year or so since he signed a homegrown. The reason why I put him on this list, and I'll be 100% honest, is because the dude has crazy potential on FIFA 20 in career mode. This is one of the best young players at that position in the world. When I picked him up on my FIFA 20 career mode, he ended up growing like crazy and got really good really quick. So other than that, I don't know much about him. Nick, do you know anything about this guy?
No, but it sounds like this is another case of, is it art imitating life or life imitating art here if we're going to base our preview on his FIFA rankings and potential. So we'll see. It sounds like we're going to learn a lot more about James Sands this upcoming season. Do you know, was he a homegrown? Was he a young player with them?
Yeah, I believe he was a homegrown when he came up through their young academy. So yeah, that's from what
I was able to find a quick article that he was NYCFC's first ever homegrown player back in July of 2017. So he played with New York City in 2017, was on loan to Louisville in 18, and now he's back home. So let's see what he can do. And only 19 years old, so he's got a lot of growth, but a guy who could get some minutes for NYCFC in a long season that involves Champions League play.
True. All right, so a projected starting 11 for New York City. This one, again, going with the same formation that they played in their last game of the season last year, was a 4-2-3-1. Now, this might change with the new coach, might put in a totally different system, but a 4-2-3-1 system. We got Sean Johnson in goal. I think there's no question about that one. As far as defense goes, Anton Tinnerholm, one of the better, I believe, left backs in the game, in my opinion. I think he's probably one of the best in MLS. Maybe not in the game of soccer, but in MLS. Chanot, Callens, and Matarrita as well from the defense. The two defensive type midfielders are going to be Keaton Parks, who we just talked about, as well as Alexander Ring, another top defensive midfielder in MLS. Then for the kind of wingers, hybrid midfield, attacking mid winger type of player, we're going to have Jesus Medina, maybe, Maxi Morales, Alexandru Mitricu, and then the one single forward, I think that will be Hebert. Backed up, it's a really close fight between Hebert and Castellanos. Hebert was a big time guy for Dome Torrent. He really wanted him. Now that Dome Torrent is gone, maybe Victor Castellanos can give him a push for that starting spot. But I'm going to go with Hebert on that one. What are your thoughts on that starting 11, Nick?
Yeah, this starting 11 could be affected by the Champions League play that they're going to be in, starting in a few weeks here against San Carlos on February 20th. So I would imagine they're going to start Hebert just because of how he finished the season last year and with some of his international experience, that he's going to be an excellent fit for Champions League. And then maybe you bring Castellanos in to play some of your domestic games, and that way you can keep kind of those strikers fresh as you slog through this extended season with Champions League play and everything else that NYC is going to get into. If they're going to be in some those random show tournaments against Liga MX or anything else that pops up along the way. So they're definitely going to need to have fresh legs rolling in and out. But yeah, from a starting 11 standpoint, I think you're just about spot on there, Mike. So then out of those 11, who is your most important player? I think this one's fairly obvious, but why don't you give us your reasons?
Yeah, so you talked a little bit in the previous segments about Alexander Mitricu, and I think he has a very big case for that. However, I'm going to go somebody different. I'm going to go with Maxi Morales, the face of NYCFC. This guy has been a DP, their best player for the last couple seasons, ever since Villa left. And I think he has to be the guy that takes that next step that really is a big-time DP in this league. If he has the seasons that he's had, he's been okay. He hasn't been bad. He hasn't been great either. And if he has one of those seasons, it's not going to be good enough for NYCFC and they're probably not going to fare that well. They might do well in the regular season, but again, it all comes down to the regular season as well as, the playoffs with New York City. Can they get anything done in the playoffs? I think Maxi Morales has to have a best 11 caliber season for NYCFC to really be successful and make it into the playoffs as a high seed and then possibly go on a run. Now, a thought that I do have is he is the perfect fit for that small field in New York City. He can turn his game. I mean, he is the passing. He's small. He's quick. Same thing with Mitritu. So I think he can really, if he can up his game, he'll be that guy for that small field and do extremely well for New York City.
Yeah, you want to talk small players on small fields. Mitritu's listed at 5'5", and Morales is listed at 5'3".
Yeah.
Kind of crazy to think that I'm taller than both of those guys, and I am by no means a tall person at all. I think on a good day I top out at 5'6". It's pretty ridiculous to feel like that I'm taller than these two guys. Not that they couldn't run circles around me.
Well, exactly. So I guess it comes down to the predictions. What are you thinking, Nick, for ceiling and floor on this one?
So the ceiling, I would say, and I know in your notes you have them finished in second in the East, but personally, I think their ceiling is repeating as top seed in the East. I think with the talent they bring back, if their new coach can get everything in line for them and they get the contributions from their new players, that they could repeat as Eastern Conference champions. The floor, I still think they're too good of a team to ever miss the playoffs. But if everything kind of bottoms out, if they have that CCL hangover, if they pick up a couple injuries and just have tired legs, if there is kind of that struggle with the new coach and the new system, then they probably could finish around 6th-ish in the Eastern Conference, and then just kind of see how they have to do in the playoff. But as you said previously in the FC Dallas segment, we'll give our final predictions and how everything shakes out the week of February 20th.
Awesome. Yeah, I think with New York City FC, the floor might actually be the best case scenario for these guys. The struggles that they've had in the playoffs, Nick. Everybody does. And I think they've always been that top seed in the playoffs, first or second, maybe even third at worst. They were, and of course it just changed to the segment this year, last year, of having the higher seed hosting the game. And we saw what a mess that was with New York City having to go to Citi Field, not Yankee Stadium, that small pitch, even though they made the size of the field at Citi Field the same size so that they could continue to use that competitive advantage. It was a mess. Maybe the best thing in the world for this team would be to finish 7th in the East and not play a game at home for the entire playoffs. Then maybe, that might be the best thing. So I'm going to go out there on a limb and say that's probably going to be the best case scenario for New York City.
Well, with that, fans, that is New York City FC's team preview. You can check them out, like we said, February 20th in CONCACAF Champions League action, as well as throughout the MLS season. Let us know what your thoughts are, especially to our New York City listeners. I mean, is New York going to be blue? Is New York going to be red? Or are the Citizens just going to kind of come up short again this season? What are your expectations? Let us know. We're going to take a